It may look like a Game Boy game from the 1990s, but this diminutive RPG is hiding far more than I expected beneath the surface. And once I burrowed on in, I never wanted to come back up. Mina the Hollower is a tough-as-nails adventure that isn't shy about its influences. It borrows The Legend of Zelda's open-world structure, adds a healthy amount of Castlevania's horror setting and haunting soundtrack, and it peps things up with a dose of FromSoft Souls games in its combat and progression. But somewhere in that mix, Mina becomes more than the sum of its parts, cleverly riffing and remixing them in smart ways. Its blocky exterior disguises rich combat systems, some of the best puzzle solving ever put to screen, and a funny, deeply weird world I love to explore. Developer Yacht Club Games is no stranger to retro tributes, with its standout Shovel Knight series drawing heavily from NES classics like Mega Man. While Shovel Knight stuck to its source material pretty closely, Mina uses Zelda games like Link's Awakening and the Oracle Duo as a foundation for a much deeper, more modern take on a top-down action RPG. It doesn't play like one of those turn-of-the-century Zeldas, though, because Mina has a completely open world. There are no paths blocked until you get some special item, and nothing but your own skill level keeps you from going to any one of its 4 initial dungeons first. You just need to fight your way there. And if you can't cut it, there's probably another path to try instead, a clever place to grind for money and levels, or some side quests that lead to optional upgrades. Mina's world is an entrancing mix of gothic fantasy and steampunk tech. There are plenty of adorable animal denizens, like Mina herself, but also building-busting giants, friendly abominations, and a whole lot of possums. Ugh. These characters all have lives that are affected by your actions, and many end up holding a greater purpose in the larger story, which has some fun, if predictable, twists and turns, and really saves the good stuff for the end of the game. Mina herself is a bit of an enigma. She's a monster slayer, but also something of a mad scientist who has outfitted the Tenebrous Isles with tech that is being mysteriously sabotaged. The plot follows whether her machines are actually good or bad, and while brave little Mina seems to act heroically in this kill-or-be-killed overworld, often solving problems for the Isle folk, she also causes a few. Without spoiling anything, those can come back to haunt you. This little white mouse explores a lot of gray areas, and I love that. There are 6 main dungeons spread across the Tenebrous Isles, each with a matching area that leads up to it. A swamp, a beach, a crypt. You've played a video game before. All 6 are filled with charm and challenge. One area, called Septemberg, especially stood out as a piece of storytelling I'd never experienced before. It's a region with a general Halloween vibe where you are told of a lurking horror and the way you have to manage that Resident Evil-esque threat through a hedge maze, a lightning storm, and more is absolutely bonkers. An adrenaline-inducing sequence that I love. There are parts of the Tenebrous Isles that you can't access immediately, but the way to reach them is never a dungeon-based upgrade. It's a secret passage, a side quest, or in some cases, by using a specific collectible sidearm. This is the best and most pure kind of open world, and it's executed excellently here. Mina dangles a prize just out of reach, challenging you. Can you cross that gap? Can you get to that chest from above? Should you go in that creepy hole in the ground right now with no save point in sight? Mina's moveset as you meet these challenges is all her own, and it is a ton of fun to learn and master as you explore. Her ability to burrow beneath the ground and then pop up for an aerial leap is multi-purpose. It's a dash, a dodge, a long jump, and eventually a graceful way to dance around an enemy like a furry little ninja. There's a learning curve for sure, and effectively working this move into my hacking and slashing took time. But once I got the hang of burrowing, it became a versatile combat tool that made Mina feel extra nimble compared to, say, a certain squat little Hylian. And then there's the soundtrack accompanying every area. It's pure Castlevania. It could easily be the soundtrack to 1987's coolest game featuring Frankenstein, but it's a style that still feels totally rad when executed this well in 2026. In case you needed even more Castlevania, you've also got a whip. Mina's Night Star is one of the 5 possible weapons to pick from, and it's a fantastic go-to option, and of course, every aspiring Belmont's choice of weapon. I stuck with the Night Star for most of my time with Mina, but I also ended up falling in love with the high DPS daggers, Whisper and Vesper, more of an Alucard thing. And just look at all these awesome Castlevania-inspired cutscenes ahead of each dungeon. The other system ripped straight out of Castlevania are the sidearms, which give you a variety of secondary attacks. Options like the sword or axe function almost exactly like sub-weapons in Castlevania. I especially like the little ghost that attacked enemies and drained jewels over time, and a demon pet on a leash that acts as your own personal chain chomp. There are also some weird sidearms too, like the Iron Steed, a bicycle with sort of a jousting rod attached that serves as both a quick option to dash around and a way to jump over huge gaps to reach secret areas. You can augment most of Mina's moves through swappable trinkets, which provide buffs that boost your movement. My preferred combos for exploration, long jumps, increased burrowing time, wall grabs, were very different than those for combat. DPS multipliers, a revive, and health extenders. There are dozens of trinkets to find, some extremely useful on their own, and others that only add up to huge results when used together. Unlike many games, where I tend to stick to a formula that works, it was always exciting to find a new one to experiment with in Mina. The other way to upgrade your game are bones, and they're just like Dark Souls' souls or Elden Ring's runes. Basically experience points that you can spend on permanent attack and defense level ups or various shop items. Otherwise, you risk losing whatever is in your pocket upon death. Now, Mina isn't nearly as punishing as some Souls games though, as you can quickly gain multiple sparks that will prevent you from losing your bones if you die. Your healing also has a really fun and twisted twist to it. You have a stock of health potions, but they only heal based on how much you've attacked enemies since getting hurt. So that means if you're getting low, you have to go on offense. Trinkets can once again play with this system in amusing ways, but the core of it is a gamble I ended up loving and making plenty of wrong bets on. Mina is a very hard game, but it gives you plenty of options whenever you get stuck depending on your playstyle. You can certainly just get good and learn a tricky boss's patterns, or you can find a grinding spot, which is particularly fun in the late game, and get more bones, and then absolutely roll that same boss. Alternatively, you could play with your trinket build until you find some combo that makes that particular boss a breeze. All these upgrades really matter. Enemies that take 10 hits could take half that after a bone up. I love that. Of course, every Souls-inspired game also has its version of a save point that both heals you and restores all of the enemies to the world. Mina's is cute and clever, a tiny underlab you burrow down to. There you can use stored bones to level up, swap trinkets, and change weapons. The main loop of Mina becomes centered largely on whether or not you can make it to or find the next underlab, or whether you should retreat to the last one you visited. This sets up that ultra-tense risk versus reward version of exploration that makes so many games so hard to put down. After a successful outing, you'll think, just one more try. At least I know where the enemies are now. A neat twist to Mina's underlab is that you can outfit it with things like a way to store sidearms, replenish their ammo, or even look at a basic map that tracks collectibles by region. Speaking of maps, Mina does not have a detailed room-by-room map to pore over for secrets. While this makes it a lot more like Dark Souls and Bloodborne in terms of its sheer, terrifying unknown of what's ahead, it cuts out Zelda, Metroid, or Castlevania's pressure to constantly probe the edges of a pause screen map in order to sniff out collectibles hidden past a breakable wall or some such thing. There are plenty of secrets out there, you just have to probe every element of a room in order to find them. This helped me focus on the combat, platforming, and survival, which I did appreciate, and I did love how it significantly ups the challenge of finding secrets in creative ways. A game with so many disparate influences runs the risk of becoming a mishmash or a hodgepodge, but Mina's inspirations are all awesome choices that mix really well together. And despite being so referential, Mina is actually quite unpredictable, and it frequently plays up the element of surprise. These surprises can be small, like a freaky clown who jump scares you only to tell a dad joke, or they can be really big. While I obviously won't spoil anything here, Mina's triumphant ending is its biggest surprise of all. Undoubtedly one for the books. To get to that ending takes a while too. After 23 hours, I rolled credits with 72% completion and immediately started into a new game plus to find all the stuff I didn't find the first time around. Those 23 hours were more than enough for me to fall head over heels for Mina, but there's a lot more too. Each New Game Plus through the 7th run has unique permutations. The initial NG Plus I'm on now has far fewer save spots, making runbacks an absolute killer, which blissfully is not a concern at all in the base playthrough. And for you old school cheat code fans, there's a massive menu of modifications to turn on and off, which range from goofy to helpful. You can even toggle on a sort of God mode for when you get stuck. Just remember that this disables the feat system. I left it alone for that reason, but I started a new save just to mess around with it, and it's fantastic for making Mina more accessible. Mina the Hollower will burrow into your brain and set up a cozy little house there. I couldn't let it go. Clues to unsolved puzzles pop into my brain before bed. A spot high out of reach that I never set foot on beckons to me every time I pass it. That secret boss that destroyed me could be beatable with one really good grinding spot. Mina achieves the same heights in both action and style that its impressive inspirations reach on a regular basis, be that Zelda, Castlevania, or FromSoft RPGs. Even if all you've played is Breath of the Wild or Elden Ring, don't let the retro look fool you. Mina the Hollower will scratch the same itch. With an open world that's crammed with mysteries worth exploring and lively, clever combat I couldn't get enough of. It's a big game in a small package, and an absolute masterpiece of an adventure.
Reviews director Tom Marks with Sam Claiborn, our reviewer of Mina the Hollower, to talk about the big number that just showed up once again. We've now given more 10s in May of this year than all of 2025 for games combined, which is insane. When it rains, it pours. Sometimes this just happens. A lot of good stuff comes out at the same time.
It's the statistics. We got a new Bubsy game this month, which means there's going to be more 10s to counter it out.
To balance it? Yeah,
to
maybe.
balance the world. The world has to be balanced.
If you've been following IGN, I'm sure you've seen Sam. Sam, you've been reviewing games for us and playing games and talking on GameScoop and all that for almost 2 decades now.
That's right.
You reviewed Metroid Dread for us, Mega Man 11, 3D Dot Game Heroes, which is one that you mentioned here.
Sounds right. I don't remember it, but it sounds right.
Yeah. And then also, speaking to Mina, a lot of our retro game collections, stuff like the Disney Afternoon Collection, the Mega Man Collection, Castlevania Anniversary Collection, you've dabbled in those spaces as well. So definitely the right person for this review. Let's start with the 10. I've asked this now to Luke Riley and Simon Cardy on the previous 210 reviews. What pushes a game from an amazing 9 to a masterpiece 10 for you? Because the only other 10 you've given is Metroid Prime Remaster.
So bear with me here. This is a little bit of a long of an answer, but Mina the Hollower is just really fucking fun. That's it. It's just amazing. It's a really, really fun game. I think this game is it is really fun, and it's really fun because it's showing its references, its sources, it's what it draws from very clearly. It's saying, I'm a big old school looking game, and then when you play it, you realize that it's much more than that. And I'm a sucker for that. It is taking elements from a bunch of old games unabashedly, not saying like, I'm an old game that's supposed to feel old. No, it's not doing that. It's saying we're gonna make a really fun experience that's constrained by an old timey looking video game. I feel like Mina's like really direct in that way. It's like, we're gonna like squeeze a Souls-like amazing adventure game into like the corners, the very sharp pixely corners of a Zelda game on Game Boy. Not even a Zelda game on Super Nintendo. It's meant to look like a Game Boy Color, like Zelda Link's Awakening DX, which is the colorized version of that, or the Oracle games, which are amazing games, but they're not like this game.
Speaking of those games, like, give people, I ran down some of your previous reviews, but give people some history with these inspirations, because you're obviously a big Castlevania fan, a big Zelda fan, but like, what speaks to you about them, and have you just played all of them? Are you that kind of super fan there?
Well, I mean, it's kind of by way of being old, right? Like, I got, Castlevania 2 and rented Zelda 2 when I was, in elementary school. And those are the games that I played. Those are the contemporary hits. That's why I read Nintendo Power, was to see more of those series. I love Castlevania 1, 2, 3. I don't really like a 4 very much, and so like I have very weird takes already on these games. But what I like about them is the and of course I love Symphony of the Night and everything after that. I don't think like I'm not like this Castlevania super fan that cares about the lore and everything. I care about what it looked like and what it sounded like and why I liked that when I was a kid. And so what this takes that, and then the Zelda part. Everybody likes Zelda. I don't need to explain why people like Zelda. Zelda, you could just walk in any direction. You could find things early. You could run around and do things. The only thing stopping you is that you didn't know yet that the game hadn't taught you. Not necessarily the equipment that you got. That matters a little bit more in dungeons, but just walking around the overworld. You can walk up into the mountains and just get absolutely destroyed by Lynels. Like I love that about open world games. And of course, Breath of the Wild did that. 4 directions, go any direction. This drops you into this hostile world where you can go any direction, and it's hard from the start, but you have some ways to take the edge off right away.
The other thing you touched on in that answer and in the review itself is this idea of challenge and this being a very, very hard game. And I wanted to dig into that a little bit more because Silksong, a game I reviewed and absolutely adored,
Legend.
But Silksong, the conversation that ended up dominating the initial release of that game was like, is this too hard? Is this too punishing? And there were a lot of people who were very fairly, like not judging them for this, off-put by just like the runbacks and all that sort of stuff. So what I want to know about Mina is like, is it a punishing, frustrating sort of challenge, or is it just like a challenge that is a little more broadly fulfilling to overcome?
It's the latter, but with a twist, and it's not a recent new idea. So it's taking from Dark Souls and Metroid style Castlevania games, the ability to face down a challenge and realize I'm not ready for this yet, and then go off and do something to make that challenge easier. Now, in Souls games, you grind, right? You go off and you farm a bunch of XP. You take a little void warp into a field, and you take on these like weird ninjas early, and then all of a sudden you're OP and can go do the first 2 dungeons really easily. And don't tell me you didn't do that. I see the data about what people look up for game help, and everybody did that. And if you didn't do that, you missed out because it was really fun. This has the exact same function. And this is something that happens because I've been coaching a bunch of my coworkers on this. If you go to your first dungeon and just like world enemies are like really, really killing you, you can just go whack smaller enemies. It doesn't take a long time to get XP, go save a few times, and bone up, which is what XP increasing is in this. When you bone up, when you get XP in this game, you immediately feel the results. You're walking around and you're hitting these stupid little enemies popping out of tombs, and they take 4 hits, and you're like, this is so annoying. There's so many of them, but you go and kill one of them a couple times, and you're like, oh, now I can kill 2, kill 3. You're leveling up, and then all of a sudden you come back and you're just farming them, and then you're in the next scene and you're like, oh, this is all easy now because I made it easy. I farm. Now, the whole game is not like that. What's interesting about this is that once you notch up, then all of a sudden it feels like Zelda for 6 hours. It's like, oh, I'm just exploring and thinking about puzzles and having fun doing other things than combat. And then all of a sudden you hit that combat wall again. You're like, oh, I forgot I need to be thinking about this like an RPG.
Well, Sam, thank you so much for chatting with us a little bit more about this review and your tastes in general. If you want to see either of the other 10s we've given in the last couple of weeks, apparently, Mixtape and Forza Horizon 6, you can go check out those. And for everything else, stick with IGN.